You're going to learn how to create a tilt shift Photoshop effect. Now this right here is one of the examples that I've come up with. If you look at it, it looks like it's almost a miniature set. I'll show you some other examples right here. These are some other tilt shift that I just Googled. There's a few things that you should notice about them. One is that they have the top and the bottom, or two sections, because sometimes it's on an angle as well. The top and the bottom in this one are blurred out. And let's see another one. There you go, this one right here. The bottom, top, blurred out. The other thing is that the saturation of the colors are brought up a lot more than it would be on a regular photo. Now, each one of these photos are taken from the top point, meaning that the view of it is from top to bottom. That gives it that effect of it being a small village. Now, I think about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, that little scene that is part of the intro. And if you look at it, it is an actual set though. So you're trying to get that same kind of effect with this. So let's start, which by the way, the files that we're going to be working on are already linked below. I already opened it, so I'm going to open it up under Open Recent. For you, open up Photoshop and go to File, Open. And of course, download the file first. It's not this one. It's in Tilt Shift, and it's this one right here. Okay, so this file is what we're going to turn into that tilt shift effect. The first thing is we want to look at this the same way on your computer as it is on my computer. So let's go up to the top where it says Window, under Workspace, and notice that Essentials is already clicked. I'm going to click on Reset Essentials just to make sure it is the same. Then I'm going to focus on two parts, the toolbar and then my layers palette. For the toolbar, I'm just going to click right here on these arrows. And these arrows let me create it in two columns or one column. As you already know, I like to see it in two columns. Helps me to identify with you guys as far as the 8th tool down, the 4th tool down on the left corner. Alright, and then the layers palette. With the layers palette, there are a lot of things I could do down here. One of the things right here, you create a new layer. But I don't want to create a blank new layer. I actually want to drag my background layer right on top of there, and it's just going to duplicate it. Take a look. I have background copy and then background. For background copy, I'm going to double click on the name and call this one blur, because I'm going to blur this one. Now with the blur layer selected, I'm going to go up to the top where it says filter, and I'm going to go to blur, Gaussian blur. And again, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Now it gives me an option of moving this around, making it really blurred, not that blurred. I have done this already, so 3.9 or so is where I want it to be. I'm going to hit OK. And now I have one layer that's blurred. If you see, if I click on the little eye right there, it hides it. That's the focused layer, that's the blurred layer. So focus and blurred. Now for the blurred layer, I want to create a mask. And that is with the Japan flag down here. I'm going to click on that. But it doesn't do anything because everything is still white. White shows, and since everything is white, it's still going to show that blurred layer. I want to hide this section right here and leave these top sections and bottom sections to be blurred. So I want to click on this tool right here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 7th tool on the left column. That's the gradient tool. And then I want my foreground color to be black. If your color is not black already, if for some reason it's crazy colors, you first want to make sure that the mask is selected and not the actual image. So click on the mask just once. And then again, right here, you could flip your foreground color to your background. I actually want it to be black on the top. So gradient tool, black in my foreground color. And now I have these options right here. This is a linear gradient, which is from black to white. This is a radial gradient, which is black to white as well, but it's going in as a circle. This is black to white again, but it's going in more on a diamond shape or a pyramid shape. And then this was the one that I actually want, is the reflected gradient. What that does, it goes from black to white and then black back to white, or vice versa. In this case, it's actually going to go from white to black and then back to white. So I want this section right here, this road, to actually be clear. So I want to hide that section. So I'm going to click in the middle of the road and I'm going to pull up to here. What that's going to do is going to create a gradient on my mask. You'll see it in a minute. It created that gradient right there on my mask. A black gradient that slightly goes into the white of the edges. I could extend that and keep playing around with it. Take a look at what happens on my mask. Like as I'm doing it, I want you to look right here. I'm clicking from bottom to top. The more I pull it, the further my gradient goes. The less I pull it, the less my gradient gets extended. So for me, something like this, click and drag, that seems reasonable. If I look at it, it does look more like a miniature set. So I'm good with my blurred layer. Now I want to create a layer for my hue and saturation to bring that color up a little bit at least. I click right here on the bottom of my layers palette, the half and half cookie, hue and saturation, or vibrance, but I'm going to do hue and saturation. So for hue and saturation, I'm going to bring my saturation up slightly to there. Look at the difference before and after. Realistic dull colors before and very colorful, not overly dramatic, but very colorful. Something that you might find in miniature sceneries like this. At that point, I am finished. Yes, I could fine-tune certain parts of it. If I wanted to show a little bit more of the road, I could actually click in here. I could click on the brush tool, and yes, I could brush this part in right there. Brush this part in. But for me, I think this is actually pretty good without the road. All right, thanks for watching.